Hey gang, so we just got motors going. At some point, we're going to unlock a little bit more efficiency and be able to boost this regular coal factory a little bit. As you saw on the other side of the map though, compacted coal is the way to go. And on that note, if you look under the sulfur unlocks, you can sort of see that this right here is the unlock for compacted coal. Likewise, we have an unlock for turbo fuel. And what it says over there is 50 fuel, which obviously we can't produce yet, a hard drive, which I went out and found one, and 15 compacted coal. If I get that combination of things, we can unlock turbo fuel. And a lot like compacted coal is twice as efficient as regular coal. Turbo fuel, I believe, is at least twice as efficient as regular fuel. So we want to unlock that before we unlock the power plants, the oil power plants, because that, or I guess they're called the fuel generators, because then we can just build that thing once and that should power us through probably into the late tiers. But first, we have to do a few things. I did unlock this. So this is a bomb, and you throw it. So now those things that are blocked off by rocks and stuff, like you can actually see one right there. If I were to hit it with this Nobelisk, it's basically dynamite, it would blow it up and I'd be able to get whatever is under there. So there are caves that are locked off. There's resources that are locked off, like the Caterium node that's over there. Now I can bust that open, and actually I might do that just to build a really simple Caterium plant. But yeah, at this point in the game, unlocking Nobelisk is pretty big. But first, let's unlock oil.
Milestone reached. Crude oil can now be extracted and refined to produce various industrially beneficial parts. The byproducts of these processes will require careful management, but a capable pioneer such as yourself surely understands that. To improve efficiency, pipelines can now be optimized with valves to limit and balance their throughput. These were initially left out because Fixit did not want to overwhelm pioneers with complex pipeline management, but they have since been re-added after my impassioned defense of your capabilities.
I think they're calling me stupid. Anyway, after that rather insulting compliment, I happen to know one of the reasons that I built here is because right out here, there are a couple oil nodes, and I'll see if I can actually see them and show you what they look like. So you can't actually see them, but if I scan right here, yeah, so you can sort of see they got hits right there. Now let me show you another thing that you can do. So you call it V to do the thing that you're scanning for, and then when you let go, it'll send out a ping. But one thing that we do before the break is that if I send out the ping and hit my map, it'll show me right there. So one of the reasons I built here was because all of the oil nodes in the game, the best ones in the game, are out here in the Spire Coast. And there is a whole mess of them here. But you can see this one's impure, this one's impure, this one's temp. I don't know what that means, but we'll check that out. But out here you've got normal nodes, impure, temp. I think temp might mean pure, normal, impure. There should be a whole bunch out here. Should be a whole bunch out here. So we'll double check that. It's possible the ping has a limited range. So with that said, let's get this. All right, so I don't know what temp means, but I think it probably means pure. Right now, we're just going to put 2 of these up, and you can see each oil extractor costs 40 megawatts. A refinery costs 30. Now, I happen to know we're going to need, I think, 4 of those. So you're talking let's see, 120 there and then 80 there. So you're talking 200 megawatts just with that. That's not even talking the constructors or anything like that to build anything more. But for right now, that should get us started just making oil and making the petroleum byproducts like rubber and plastic and coke and fuel. So with that in mind, oh, and let me show you one thing that we're going to need before we get the jump pack is this right here, fluid packaging. With fluid packaging, it makes a canister and then or an empty canister. You can route the empty canister and fuel over to the packager, and it makes packaged fuel. And once you have packaged fuel, you can use that on pretty much any vehicle, like including the jetpack. So I'm not going to make the jetpack until we have this one unlocked. And to get this one unlocked, we need the 200 plastic. So let's get started. We know we need encased industrial beams, so let's make a few of those. And we will be automating those encased industrial beams eventually. And I'll probably be building the steel factory right over there, and that will be a real steel factory. Unlike this one that's just kind of there to get me started, that one will be able to do all of the things because there's a lot of pure cold nodes up there and a lot of pure iron nodes down there. So I'll be doing the whole iron or the whole steel production line over there eventually. But right now we don't have enough power to be able to pull it off. So let's get started on fixing that. We're going to take the tractor because I don't want to mess with hogs on this one. Side note, it looks like all of the hogs here, except for the largest one, have disappeared. It used to be that the only time they would die is if you killed them and there was a power source relatively nearby, but there's not actually a power source nearby. So there's this guy, which again, on this playthrough, I'm kind of trying to not kill most critters, with the exception of the bees and stingers, the spiders. Oh, that's interesting. The flowers, oh, nope, they do react to you. Okay, I was about to say, it's cool. The flowers don't react to you. And they do, of course. And here we are. So you can sort of see there's oil there and oil there. Now, if you remember right, Lizard Doggo, there was an temp node here, which I have no idea what that is. But I'm going to look and find out. There used to be a really, really big enemy here, but I am not seeing him, so I think we're in the clear. So let's get building. So this wide open area makes this a little bit easier, so I am just going to slap down an extractor right here. And we are just going to build a really basic base. Because we're so tight on power, this is basically going to be similar to what we built with the iron base. Initially, we're going to make something that is extremely basic just to get us started, because anything else will crash our power. And here's our first build. So we have this one making plastic and heavy residual oil, and I'll get to that in a second. This one is making rubber and heavy residual oil from crude oil, which is coming in from both of these guys. Remember that these are impure. Now, the problem is if the residual oil, so if this part builds up, if either of these resources build up, so if the rubber fills up whatever container is in there, then this thing will shut down. If the residual oil fills up, then this thing will shut down. So the trick with crude oil, the whole petroleum line, is balancing out this fuel. You want all of the fuel and all of the resources 100% burned off. If you haven't built an awesome sink yet, this is where you would want to use it if you don't think it's going to produce enough. In this instance, I'm not actually building a power plant, so I don't really need an awesome sink down here yet. When I build the really huge power plant, I'm going to, just because I need some way to burn off the resources so they don't shut down my power, which is eventually what you'll deal with. And eventually I will have room for a fourth one over here that's just making fuel. And then this is temporary. I just built a ramp up to the base so I don't have to run all the way back and around and up. That I could just run up this ramp. I'll probably have some way to get down there when these space elevator parts are running all the way out here, but not yet. So another trick that you can use is color coding things. So what I like to do is come into the colors and find something that works. So that's a bright blue. That won't work. You can make custom colors, but I like to use ones that are already in there, and it might work there. Yeah, that's close enough. So that tells me that heavy residual is coming out, and this isn't as important, but it tells me that this is heavy crude coming in. There is a point where you have so many pipes running everywhere that it's easy to forget what's in them, and this just makes it a little bit easier to follow. So let's run some power down here, fire this thing up, and see what happens. Now, one thing I did do was I did run these big power towers all the way across the map over to the other power plant. I'm going to do the same thing here and run them over. Ooh, getting close on that one. Let's go ahead and put this one here. Since I know that my main power plant, or at least my main fuel power plant, is going to be up this way, I'm just going to run this right by it. And if I do this right, I shouldn't be expanding this too much. And hopefully what will happen here is that the fuel won't have enough strength to get all the way up there, and I can show you what pumps do. Because this is right at the limit. So let's see, that's 1, 2, 3. Yeah, okay, so here we go. So you can see there's no fuel in here, and that's because this has reached the maximum height that it can get. So if I check down here, plenty of fuel. Up there, nothing. So if I put a pump right there, it'll start getting it up there. So let's go ahead and do that. So again, if I turn it this way, you can see that it's sending that indicator up. So let's go ahead and do that. And now let's go ahead and look at our pipes up there. Now they're pumping. Okay. And so now it fills up. Each one uses 3. It pushes out rubber, 20 per minute, which again will be upping that. Let's go ahead and change the color of this guy. Green goblin colors. So there goes our first rubber. There goes our first plastic. Yeah, it should build up relatively quick. And really what we're trying to do here is just ramp up production until we can unlock fuel. So we haven't started producing enough residual oil yet, but it will start building up. So let's look at this. So we don't have any residual oil coming out yet. There is a bug with floor pipelines, or these holes. These things. They look cool, but they can be bugged, so I might be dropping those out of there. Nope, it does look like it's producing. So there they go. Just very gradually. So it is going. So let's go back up here and see if it's producing coke yet. because that's kind of critical that it dumps that out of there. Otherwise, this whole thing will shut down. Doesn't look like it's receiving any, so I'm wondering if this pipeline hole here is bugged. Let's do something a little weird. Where is it? Right here? Again, not the final design, so I'm not too worried about it. It just needs to get the stuff there. So let's see what's happening here. Okay, there we go. We got a little bit coming in. One of the issues is that this isn't producing a lot, so it shouldn't back up too fast, but should be building more than that. So let's come down here. Yeah, you can see that is all the way full. It's interesting that it's not pushing. What it might be is that these pipes are kind of pushing back to each other rather than forcing it this way. So we're going to put another pump there, not because of head lift, but because of the pressure in the lines. It's easier for it to go this way, or it's easier for it to go back down these pipes than it is to push it up, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense if we're being honest. I like the Green Goblin colors, by the way. That eventually the water pressure should push it up, but maths. Yeah, so now we're looking good. So now it's producing petroleum coke. So basically, if this line goes until it shuts down, I don't really care because this isn't producing power for me. It is... Try that again. It is just producing enough plastic and rubber for me to unlock the next levels. So we're going to wait until that happens. This is not the end of the episode. We're going to get all the way up to building our first fuel generator. So hang tight. Okay, we got our first 200, so we're going to unlock the fluid packaging.
Milestone reached. Avoid the embarrassment of placing liquids in your pockets only for them to spread across your suit. Package and unpackage them with the packager. Packaging fluids allows them to be transported in your inventory, on conveyor belts, and by vehicles. For increased, non-pocket related fluid storage, you can now use the industrial fluid buffer.
I'm beginning to think Ada thinks I'm stupid. Okay, so one more thing. Oil early on is a lot like copper in the sense that you're going to be producing plastic and rubber, but you're going to be using a lot more plastic than you will rubber. And so what we're going to do is, now that we've kind of built up some rubber, I'm going to wait until it builds to 400, and then I am going to switch this one over to making plastic, and I'll show you why. Actually, I didn't want to wait, so we're just going to do it now. We're just going to run some spaghetti. Again, the trick is a lot like the early iron base. We are just trying to get down enough stuff to get it working. So what I'm doing here is you lay down a constructor, the plastic comes in, we're going to make an empty container. Over here, we're going to put down a packager. We're going to have it face this way. We're going to run a pipeline from the fuel into the packager. Plastic's already backing up. That's actually a good thing in this case. At least pretend to wrap around the tree. All right, now let's see what it does. Oh, we got a red bar there. Why do we have a red bar? Did I not set it up as packaged fuel? I did not. So now we're going to say turn this into packaged fuel. So we should have fuel coming out of this guy. It's not getting enough residual oil. Now it's getting a little bit. It should just produce a little bit at a time, but we will have a gradual buildup of fuel. So it needs 40 per minute. Again, because we are tied to a resource node that is impure, it's not producing nearly enough oil to make this count. In fact, it doesn't look like it's pushing any. Wonder if they changed how they work. This is powered, right? So that is fuel. That is producing fuel. That is, you can sort of see how much it's producing right there, 8.2 a minute. It should be getting enough to produce. Let's put a pump there and see if it works. It shouldn't need one, but I'm not totally sure why the packager isn't producing. Like I said, fluids can be tricky. See if that did the trick. It is still getting no fuel. But this is producing plenty of canisters, which is good. What is going on with you? You're producing fuel. You're just not producing a lot of fuel. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to shut off Coke. I think the issue is that we just aren't producing enough over here to make this work. Yeah, you can see that this right here is super low. But now it should start getting more. So I'm going to pull off that pump because we're going to start really pushing ourselves. Okay, that's more like it. That looks like crude oil. That should be yellow. There we go. And it is still not getting any fuel. I am wondering if that is a bug. Hang on. Huh. Is it not powered? Nope, it's got power. That should be working. Yeah, that's got enough fuel in there to justify it. And that is not going at all. There, it's starting to build. It's just very, very slow. Oh, yeah, so I kind of forgot how slow production is on impure nodes. So, remember that. This might have been a mistake, but there goes our first two packaged fuel. So now we're producing. There we go. We got our first packaged fuel. Next up, petroleum power. Let's go ahead and unlock that. We'll kind of let this do its thing now that it's doing its thing. Because at that rate, it is going to take it a long, long time to get 200 fuel. One thing I want to check while we're here is where's our power at? Oh yeah, look at that. So our max construction right now is our max production of power. So we're at 3072 if every machine is turned on, and we're at 3000 on our production. So if every machine were to start going efficiently, in fact, one thing I can do is come over here, turn the awesome sink off, and it'll quit dumping resources into that, which means everything will back up here and shut down, which we want because that is actually more efficient than flipping the switch over there, because at least it's producing goods until it doesn't. Okay, here we go. Gonna unlock power. But again, a lot like the coal plants, the sort of pre-power requirements to produce the power for the petroleum, basically all of the goods. You saw how much those refineries cost power-wise. To build all of those refineries takes a bunch of power in order to get the things going. So usually what you do is you turn on a couple at a time, and then you can start increasing the power as the fuel generators come online. So let me quit babbling and hit this button. Kapow!
Milestone reached. It is my honor and privilege to inform you that the fuel-powered generator, as well as the industrial fluid buffer, are now available. Due to a lack of gold in your sector, Caterium will serve as a suitable replacement to construct the fuel-powered generator. Your research into this element was valuable. In fact, you in particular are my most valuable pioneer, but don't tell the others I said that, it would be bad for morale.
I'm telling them. That is interesting. So Caterium was not an unlock for this previously, and now it is. So I need to get my Caterium production up. Let's see why that is real quick. And I'll give you an idea for the size of a oil generator. So again, just for reference, this is the size of a coal generator. That's the size of a fuel generator. Much, much larger. So let's see. Yeah, we need rubber up and running. We need motors, so that hasn't changed. We need encased industrial beams, just 15 of them, which isn't that bad. But we need 50 Caterium wire going, quick wire. So we need to build a quick wire base. So that is going to be my next build. All right, back in a couple.